Kentucky in 1861 was like a genteel Southern lady at a family reunion, where half the cousins were Unionists and the other half were secessionists. Awkward, tense, and one wrong word from a full-blown brawl. Kentucky's topography was a Civil War strategist's fever dream. Rolling hills, thick forests, winding rivers, and fertile valleys. The Ohio River formed its northern border, a liquid highway to the heart of the Union. The Cumberland Gap in the southeast was a natural funnel for armies. And the Bluegrass region? A horse-breeding paradise, but also a perfect cavalry playground. Kentucky's name comes from the Iroquoian word Kentucky, meaning land of tomorrow. But in 1861, it was the land of indecision. Officially neutral at the war's outset, Kentucky tried to sit on the fence so hard it got splinters. The state legislature leaned Unionist, but many citizens, especially in the western and southern counties, had Confederate sympathies. Why the tug of war? Because Kentucky was the keystone of the border states. The Union needed it to control the Ohio River and protect the Midwest. The Confederacy saw it as a launch pad into Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. Abraham Lincoln, himself a Kentuckian by birth, famously said, "I hope to have God on my side, but I must have Kentucky." Now, let's talk about the man who would turn Sacramento into a legend. Born in 1821 in Chapel Hill, Tennessee, Nathan Bedford Forrest was the eldest of 12 children. His father died when Nathan was 16, and young Forrest became the man of the house. He had no formal education beyond a few months in a log schoolhouse, but he had a head for numbers and a heart for hustle. He started as a farmhand, then became a horse trader, and eventually a Memphis slave trader and cotton planter. By the time the war broke out, he was worth over $1 million, a fortune in 1861. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and had a stare that could curdle milk. Legend has it that Forrest met his future wife, Mary Ann Montgomery, when her carriage got stuck at a river crossing. Forrest, ever the gallant and probably shirtless, helped her across. Sparks flew. They married in 1845. She was refined, educated, and Methodist. He was none of those things. But somehow it worked. When war came, Forrest didn't wait for a commission. He raised and equipped his own cavalry unit with his own money and offered it to the Confederacy. He had no military training, but he had instincts sharper than a saber's edge. His motto? War means fighting, and fighting means killing. Now meet Forrest's opposite, Major Eli Houston Murray. Born in Kentucky in 1843, Murray was just 18 when the war began. He came from a respectable Unionist family in Bowling Green, and unlike Forrest, he believed in structure, discipline, and the chain of command. Murray was clean-cut, book-smart, and ambitious. He tried his hand at business before the war, some say a failed dry goods venture, but found his calling in the military. He joined the 3rd Kentucky Cavalry, a Union regiment tasked with patrolling western Kentucky. On December 28, 1861, it would become a land of blood. By late 1861, Forrest had raised and equipped his own cavalry unit, 200 to 300 men, with his own money. He was camped near Greenville, about 15 miles from Sacramento, Kentucky, itching for action. One frosty morning, Forrest's scouts reported Union troops nearby, but the real intel came from a local teenage girl, whose name history forgot, but whose courage changed the course of the day. She told Forrest that Union soldiers were watering their horses near Sacramento. Forrest, ever the Southern gentleman, with a dash of outlaw, asked her mother for permission to borrow the girl on horseback to show him a shortcut to the town. He promised to return her safely. The mother agreed, likely with a prayer and a pistol nearby. Forrest didn't wait. He divided his men into 3 columns and rode hard for Sacramento. His plan? Ambush. Confuse. Destroy. As they approached the town, Forrest spotted Union cavalry. Without hesitation, he grabbed a rifle and fired the first shot himself. The battle erupted like a thunderclap. Forrest's men charged with sabers drawn, screaming like banshees. The Union troops, caught off guard, scrambled to form a line. But it was too late. Forrest later called it a promiscuous saber slaughter. Union soldiers were chased through the streets, across fields, and into the woods. Forrest's men cut them down with ruthless efficiency. Confederate sources claimed nearly 100 Union dead and 35 captured. Union sources reported 10 killed and 13 captured. Forrest's losses? 2 killed, 3 wounded. The truth probably lies somewhere in between. But one thing was clear. Forrest had arrived. Forrest's use of terrain, speed, and shock was revolutionary. He didn't just fight battles, he hunted them. Sacramento was his first major victory, and it launched his legend as the Wizard of the Saddle. He would go on to lead some of the most daring raids of the war. Battle of Fort Donelson, 1862. Forrest refused to surrender and led his men out before the fort fell. Raid into West Tennessee, 1862. Disrupted Union supply lines and captured thousands of troops. Battle of Breese's Crossroads, 1864, a tactical masterpiece where Forrest's smaller force routed a larger Union army. Battle of Johnsonville, 1864. Forrest destroyed Union supply depots and gunboats using cavalry and artillery. But Forrest's legacy is complicated. After the war, he became the first Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, though he later distanced himself from the organization. His military genius is undeniable, but his post-war actions cast a long shadow. Murray survived the skirmish, but defeat stung. He continued his military service with distinction and eventually became governor of Utah Territory. He was known for his integrity and leadership, but he never forgot the day Forrest came roaring out of the woods like a demon on horseback. "I fired the first shot myself. I wanted them to know it was me." Nathan Bedford Forrest. "We were green. He was not." Union Cavalryman, Anonymous. Sacramento was a lesson, one we learned too late. Major Eli H. Murray. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the skirmish at Sacramento, Kentucky, and the rise of Nathan Bedford Forrest, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We've got more Civil War stories coming, full of drama, grit, and the kind of history that textbooks